to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres.
I am happy to be doing this and just chilling.
I'm happy to have you on. Thank you so much for being down to be part of it. I've been jamming everything, and everything sounds so sick. And I think you guys have it perfectly put on your Bandcamp, where it's like Emo Revival, and I feel like exactly what this is in the best ways.
Yeah, thanks, dude. It's I'm glad you dig everything. It's been really fun and cool to for being a pretty new baby band to be getting nice feedback and people enjoying it and kind of oh cool, yeah, I get what y'all are doing and get what you're going for.
Yeah. Do you have a beer with you that you want to crack with me for this opening?
I do, yeah.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This is the first episode being recorded in 2023, so I'm super stoked. And, I got to give a big shout out to Justin from Kerosene Heights for sitting down with me for this first episode of 2023. Dude, what's going on?
Oh, I'm so happy to be ringing it in with you. Happy New Year. I'm
stoked. Happy New Year to you, too. Did you have at least a good New Year's Eve?
I worked. So, I mean, it's again, it's like I was saying before, it's everyone's having a good time, and there's worse things. My wife was in Vegas with a friend of hers, so I was like, wouldn't I be sitting at home with the dog otherwise? So it was great. Yeah,
that's awesome.
How about you?
I just got together with some close friends. We kind of I think I hit midnight as we were driving home, cool. Safe and responsibly, of course.
Yes.
But I don't know, turning 30 this year, in 2022, just made me just be like, do I really need to stay up till midnight? And then I was up till 2 anyway, so it didn't really matter. So you know how it goes.
Yep, I do the same thing. People are like, oh, when you get off work, come over. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then I'm like, I'll do
it. Well, for people that might not know, Kerosene Heights is a emo punk, very big, like we were talking about earlier. There's the emo revivalness to it. It almost feels like those early Free Throw or Dowsing era. I think it's 2010 to 2013 ish of emo. And you guys are from, I think I saw Asheville, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yep.
I mean, for people that aren't aware of you guys, definitely go check it out. You guys had a big 2022, and we'll kind of get into everything. But I mean, you're killing it with what you're doing, with what you're putting out. Stoked with everything that happened in 2022. For people that might not be aware, what do you do in Kerosene Heights?
I play guitar. So there's 4 of us, and it's just me today. But yeah, I play I guess lead guitar technically, but I play guitar.
Okay. And then obviously, like we mentioned, there are 4 members in the band. Who are the other 3 dudes, and what do they do?
So Chance is the other guitarist and vocalist. L is, I guess we actually just I don't think we'll ever announce it, but we actually just had our drummer and bass player switch.
Okay.
So L now plays bass, but they had been drumming. So pretty much everything that's been recorded up to this point, they were playing drums on. And then Reese is now our drummer, but he was our bass player prior to that.
Okay, crazy.
Yeah.
Do you see with that, obviously you mentioned L recorded everything, but do you see a dynamic switch or a change in the sound when you guys go to play live or anything like that?
A little bit now. So yeah, the main reason we did that is Reese kind of joined the band really early on. Our original bass player kind of who recorded all of the bass tracks on the EP on No More Bad Dreams. His name was Steven. Steven's the best. Steven was like, "Yeah, I'm not trying to tour."
Mm,
And that kind of led us into a discussion of like, "Well, we definitely are, and we're trying to do it as much as we can." So it was a very like, you know, nice. Steven was just kind of like, "If you guys find somebody else that wants to play bass who can tour and wants to tour, do it." Um, and Reese had been a good friend of mine prior to that, and I knew he kind of played a bunch of instruments, and he and I were into a lot of the same kind of music, so he jumped in and yeah, started touring with us. But anyway, Reese is a drummer, and was like, "Yeah, I'll play bass." Um, and Elle kind of same deal. Elle had, I think, they've played stringed instruments for a lot of their life. And I might be messing this up a little bit, but I think they sort of relearned drums specifically to start playing in Kerosene Heights. So
okay.
um, it's it's definitely a little bit different, but I think it's in a really good way.
Right.
So the album that we're about to go record will feature them both in their new roles, and it just seemed like a good time to do it. This is the first thing that we'll have gone to record, that's like at an actual studio where someone else is engineering everything. And yeah, basically it's just the first time we're not doing it all ourselves,
Okay. Well, I
or
mean,
mostly ourselves.
right. Well, no, that's awesome. I'm stoked to kind of see what the new roles will bring, because not that it would like sound bad by any means or anything. Like, just everyone has a different like playing style, especially when it
Yeah,
comes to drums. Like, it's such a everyone kind of has their very unique style when and rhythm when it comes to doing that. So it'll be interesting to
definitely.
see like if there's anything super noticeable between like different styles of playing.
Yeah, it's all subtle, but it is definitely there, and you are not wrong. I mean, it's L playing drums was like we'd play shows, and in the best way, people are like, "Man, that dude hits like just so hard," and like that is like I love that about L's drum style is like they are just like, you know, 100 miles an hour and play like just real loud, fast. Like they love doing blast beats and like would try to and do it. I'm like, there's no way you're gonna be able to incorporate blast beats into any of our songs, and they would. And it's like, holy shit, dude, that's awesome. um, but you know, again, equally like they've kind of come in on bass and a lot of things I think it's kind of forced us to be a little bit more like sort of conscious and thoughtful about what everyone is doing. And I think before I, especially on guitar, just kind of was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do, I'll just noodle and do whatever over all of this. And their bass playing style is a little bit more technical, and so it's definitely sort of caused us to be a little bit more aware of when we're doing that. Does it need all this? Is this too busy? And I think that that's sort of been the hardest thing for me, and in a good way, is how do we keep this from being too busy for
Right.
this new record? I think we're doing a good job. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into the studio and get this record out.
Dude, hell yeah. I'm stoked to see what this next like it'll be your first LP as Kerosene
Correct.
Heights.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked to see what that's going to be like, but I feel like we should kind of start more towards the beginning. I mean, by the time this
Yeah.
episode comes out, I think this is episode slated to come out like the end of January,
Cool.
which will be it's off by like a week of the anniversary of the EP coming out.
Yeah.
Um, for people that might not be aware, that I'm talking about No More Bad Dreams. That came out, I think I saw February 4th. I
That's
mean,
correct.
nice little 5-song EP, first introduction to Kerosene Heights for a lot of people. Um, I mean, obviously it's been almost a year ago, but like, do you remember like the reception that you got on that? Like, what everyone thought about it?
Yeah. I mean, it was really, I think all of us were just like, cool, we've got some songs. Let's put an EP out. And it was, I think, definitely about, I hate to say anticlimactic, but it was about what I expected. I mean, we were a brand new band, that I don't think anyone knew us,
Hmm.
so it was like the friends that we had that listened were like, oh yeah, this is cool, and we're like, we were really into it. We're like, this is great. We love,
Right.
we loved those songs. Um, and I think for us more than anything, it less about the reception, just more about like, I think all four of us being able to see like, oh cool, we can do this. I mean, again, we the way that EP was recorded was so low budget and bare bones. And me especially, I think I've played in a lot of bands for a long time, and I definitely had more of the like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. Like, we're not gonna be able to. We're not putting this out. Like, it's gonna be not what, mix mastered everything. Chance did all of that,
Mm,
and he crushed it. And
yeah.
it was nice for even me to be like, cool, I'll shut up.
No, I mean, yeah, the recording on this is super solid. Like it, but like with the sound that you guys are doing, the recording, even if it like was like a shitty basement recording, I feel like it would still hold up well with your sound because you have that like kind of like heavier emo sound where those shitty recordings would still be dope, but like obviously like we're saying like Chance killed it on this, so you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about that, but like it still works so well with your sound.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a big thing that it took, again, me a little bit of time to sort of come around to, was, Chance's definitely more into like the like heavier punk leaning side of things, and I come from more of the like, I want all the guitars to be like clean and
Mm,
um definitely the more, kind of twinkly emo side of things. And but I think it works really well. And it was something that at first I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. Chance is also really into a lot of like garage rock and stuff like that. Um, and I think that sort of bleeds into everything a little bit with the production side of things, and sort of on the EP, like, being able to hear like that work for me was, again, a really cool kind of thing. It's, you got to trust everybody to sort of do what they're going to do. And like, it's hard to work in a group sometimes in that way when you're like, no, it's supposed to be like this.
right. Yeah. Yeah, especially like it's it'd be different if it was like a solo project and you're like this is my vision, this is the idea, but you're working with three other people and you all have this is all your baby project and you want
Yeah,
it to be what it needs to be. So I mean,
definitely.
at least
Well,
you're
and
able to like all come to that same level.
yeah, and I think for the EP it was a little bit easier too, because again, I guess going back to the beginning, um, it was a solo project for Chance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he under a different name. He recorded under the name Echo Chambers, and I think a lot of that music is actually still up on Spotify and Bandcamp. It's definitely a little bit different than Kerosene Heights, but it was, that's sort of how things started. Is my now wife, and her best friend. Chance is her best friend's partner,
Okay.
and it had just kind of, someone had said like, "Oh yeah, he makes music," and I'm like, "Cool, let me hear it." And then I think I just bugged him until he was like, "Fine, I'll start a band with you." But yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, I really enjoyed all of it, like his vocals, songwriting style. That dude will just like, I have never understood how people do that, but he will. A week will go by and he's like, "Cool, I have 5 new songs," and I'm like, "All right."
Right. Yeah, I was
And
talking
he
to
still
someone once
does
and
that.
they were just like, "Oh yeah, pandemic was crazy, like everyone wasn't doing anything, but I wrote like 30 EPs or like wrote like I had like come up with like 40 songs." I'm like, "How do you do that?" Like I barely come up with like 3 sentences in an hour
Yeah,
sometimes.
same. I will sit on 45 seconds of a song that I'm working on for 3 months, and then I'm like, it's not good. Scrap it. um, but it's great. I mean, that was like I mean, we were kind of, I guess, in a way, like sort of a pandemic band. Like, we started right before, I think right before that, maybe right after it. And so it was a lot of just like sending stuff back and forth. over the internet, and sort of like, cool, I have this idea, I'll put it over the top, and then sort of making things that way. But yeah, he's ridiculous. It's incredible to me that that dude is able to do that. Like, I think our goal for the full length was to have around 20 to 25 demos.
Wow.
And incredibly, like, we did that. And then sort of whittled it down to like, cool, it's this 11. Yeah. And he, like, one of the songs on there got written not even a month ago, which he's like, I don't really like this one. I think I'm going to try to write something new. And I'm like, dude, you are going to kill me with stress. But he did it. And it's like, yeah, cool. This is great. Let's do it. So yeah, it's been fun to work with somebody like that. It sort of keeps me having to like play a lot and work on things a lot, and try to stay like inspired and motivated to not feel like I'm just writing the same guitar riff over and over and over again.
Right. Now, with this EP, in December, you guys announced two things. You announced, the deluxe version of this EP, which adds two new songs to it.
Yep.
And you also, major congratulations, signed with No Sleep Records
Yeah.
out of, I think they're Huntington Beach, California now, or Southern California.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly.
I just say LA. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But congratulations on that signing.
Thanks,
I feel
dude.
like
We're excited.
Obviously I saw that you're wearing the No Sleep hoodie today.
Yeah.
They've always been, and I mentioned this a couple of different times, like they've always been like one of my favorite record labels, because like, I feel like out of like the bigger record labels that are out there right now, they're the more like DIY-ish compared to them. So like if you compare them to like Pure Noise, Rise Records, and so on like that. And they've always had super good lineups. I know. I mean, obviously, you guys are on there. The homies and Unturned are on there.
Yes.
They put out a lot of great stuff, and just major congratulations on that signing.
Thank you. It's always like, it's weird, but that was I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I've known about them since I was in high school, and I have loved like pretty much any version of what that label has been and what their roster has looked like. And
Right.
I think the moment we kind of realized like, oh shit, this might happen, like we might actually, get this worked out with them, was like, yeah, I was ecstatic. Yeah, it's really cool, and definitely really exciting for us. And in such a short amount of time, for us to have been able to do that is pretty incredible. And I think that's I have a hard time with that a lot, and I think probably a lot of people do. It's like, I'm not doing enough, and in the like internet age where everything is compared to this or that, and you're like, wow, we're not doing anything. And then I'm like, no, we've done a ton, and we're really excited and proud of that.
Major stoked. But like I mentioned, you did kind of re-release the EP in the deluxe version, adding two new songs to it. For people that aren't aware, those songs are Everything That Matters and The Dog and Me Is Fatigued, which are both super solid. And I feel like they round out that EP very well. Like, what was the idea behind adding those songs, specifically considering you've released a few other singles throughout the year as well?
Yeah, that was kind of, I think, a lot of the conversation around that was, we knew we wanted to, Chris from No Sleep had kind of talked to us about reissuing the EP, and we knew we wanted to add some B-sides to it. So originally I was like, well, we could, if we really wanted to do like a big deluxe, we could roll all those singles that we put out on there and add some B-sides. But I think ultimately we were kind of happy with the singles as they stood. And those two songs were songs that we all really, really liked a lot. But they just kind of never had a place anywhere else. Everything That Matters got recorded right in the same session that we did Catherine and 16. So that split, or that BW, like AB split. And we're kind of ultimately like, this doesn't really fit on that. We're just going to do those two songs, and we'll just, hang on to this and use it at some point. And The Dog and Me was a demo from the original No More Bad Dreams session. So that one more so specifically was like, this was written with these songs and kind of fits right in with all of those. And yeah, so it was just like, they're not going to make the full length. They're not, why let them just sit on a computer drive somewhere and never put them out? Like, let's just put them out. And I'm happy we did. I love those songs, and I'm always happy to put out more music.
Yeah. No, yeah, like I felt like those two songs were a great addition, especially knowing that like I don't want to butcher names. Everything That Matters was recorded with Catherine. Seeing like I don't know if it's just because I've heard it so many times with No More Bad Dreams. I can't picture it being released with Catherine like 16 was.
Right.
Because like those ones kind of change up a little bit. But I feel like the 7 songs that you guys, well, the 2 additional songs that added to the 5, rounded out that EP just perfectly and kind of made it that nice little what it is.
Yeah.
And then I really dug the changing of the cover art, going from primarily red to primarily black to kind of give it that whole like feel. Because I'm trying to think of there's been like a few other deluxe albums that like people have released that like always they change, everything stays the same but they just change like the main color of it just to
Yeah.
like set it apart. And I feel like it, you got to do that if you're gonna release it a deluxe version.
Yeah.
And it's great.
A local artist, Asheville local artist, is who did that album art, and so it was super easy. Their name's Z. It was super easy to just kind of get that. That was, yeah. We're like, hey, we're thinking about just sort of inverting the colors on this. Yeah, no problem. I got you guys. Yeah, they're awesome. Their art is really, really cool too. Yeah, I'm gonna look up. I'll find it and I'll say it on
Okay.
here so people can look up their art if they'd like.
Oh, yeah.
Totally am forgetting their Instagram handle at the moment. But they are they're awesome. And I'm probably not gonna find it. I'm very bad at all. But anyway, their name is Z. Yeah, maybe we'll put it in the notes somewhere later.
Yeah. You find it, you let me know. We'll put it in the description down below. That way everyone can make sure to hit them
Yeah.
up and support them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I mean, you also this year, besides putting out Catherine in 16, you're also part of I think it was a 4-way split back in November.
Correct.
With Drunk Uncle, and I'm blanking on the other names.
Thorntire.
On there.
And Thorntire and Rose Ceremony were the other 2 bands. Yep.
Which also, if anyone's listening, definitely go check out that split. And check out all those bands as well, because I mean that split was killer.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
We were I think all sort of like, oh wow, these people all agree to do this. Like, we weren't expecting that.
Was it that like whose idea? Did you guys get hit up to be part of the split, or was it like your guys' idea? I can't remember who put it out, but like they're like, it was a smaller label that also is doing killer things.
Correct. Yeah. So Old Press Records, Tom is who put that out. And it was like and then their sister label is Acrobat Unstable. So it was kind of like also a split, I guess, for the label. Like both the labels worked on that with us. But Old Press is, I mean, they're one of those labels that I sort of had heard of but didn't know much about, and then like flipping through their roster and like bands they've worked with, and you're like, oh wow, like this dude like has, I think, a really like just good taste, and like he's worked with some really, really good bands. And is just a really like genuine nice person. And so yeah, we had kind of talked to Tom about wanting to put something out with Old Press, and he's kind of like, yeah, we can do whatever y'all want to do. And I'm like, oh well, I want to do a split. And he's like, yeah, we can do that. So we had hit up, all of us are big fans of Thorntire, Carter, and so we hit him up, and he's like, yeah, I got that. I can do 2 songs. And then hit up Drunk Uncle, and they were already working on doing a split with Rose Ceremony, who's another, I believe, Austin-based band. And that's their first music they've released is on that split. So they were kind of like, yeah, we were already gonna do a split with them. So if y'all are cool with it, we'll just do that, and that's 4 bands. I've always been a really big fan of that, like, just concept as a whole. And especially like the 4-way split to me is such a cool thing. Yeah, so it was like, great, this is a no-brainer. I mean, I would joke with the band early on, like, I would only do singles and splits if we could. It's so much less pressure, and yeah, uh, it's just sort of fun. Like,
Right.
it's like there's very low commitment to that, like 2 songs, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, 2 songs that you're done, and especially if like you're the ones that are getting asked to be on it, you don't have to worry about like the whole like uh I mean, obviously you'll get input like on, maybe cover art and like release date, but really it's just you're just there to do your 2 song job, and then you're like, all right, see you when it releases, check back
Definitely.
later.
And that was, I do a lot of the like behind the scenes work for this band, and so a lot of that stuff is like things that I'm constantly like, hey, we need this, who's working on this, who's doing this. And yeah, to have Tom help with a lot of that stuff was amazing. It definitely made me like, cool, I do not want to do this for forever for this band. Yeah, y'all need to find a manager. But no, it was cool and easy. I had done, some of the like collage stuff for a couple for like the singles that we had released, and just had some extra like collage stuff I had laying around that I was like, if y'all want to use this, we can use it. And so I had sent the art that got used for the split, and everyone was like, yeah, that's actually really cool, let's just use that, which was sweet. Like, I'm definitely not, I do not consider myself an artist, and so it was nice to have people be like, this is cool, and I'm like, oh, thanks.
Hell yeah, dude.
I thought it sucked.
Well, so happy with that, how that came out, and like just, I mean, between doing the split that I think released in November, doing the deluxe and announcing that, and the partnership with No Sleep, that was a, great way to end. I feel like Kerosene Heights is 2022. Just kind of go out on that high note.
Yes, it was cool. It was a super busy. The end of the year was really really busy for us in the best way. We did, I think, the longest tour any of us had ever done, which was like just at 3 weeks, at the kind of beginning of October, down to Fest in Florida, and then yeah, had that split come out. I think right before, I want to say it was right before Fest, that it got sometime around then. Yeah, it was the end of this. I got married right like a week after we played Fest.
Wow.
So I was gone for another week after that. Like it was kind of, it's still been nonstop. It's just I guess publicly the band has slowed down a lot over the past couple months, but we have still been incredibly busy.
Wow. Well, congratulations on also getting married.
Thanks.
I mean, that sounds like an action-packed last few months, playing Fest, releasing this, getting married, signing No Sleep, releasing the deluxe. I'm like, oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, yeah, we I guess technically we signed to No Sleep while we were on that tour. So even that was like, all right, we're just gonna not stop doing this. But that's sort of what all of us want. I mean, that's I think everybody in the band is like really into touring, and which is hard to find, and yeah, just kind of loves doing all of it. So it for us, it's like, yeah, whatever we can do to keep getting to do this, hopefully eventually in a way that's sustainable for us. But even if it's not, like, yeah, we'll just keep doing it, it's fine. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, you guys are for sure living that dream. I mean, signing the contracts and stuff while you're basically on tour, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of like a peak moment for a lot of people. One, just to do tour, but like also get to have the signing happen kind of in that same, like, oh, obviously we're doing shit right type of deal.
Yeah, it was
So
cool. We celebrated we were in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and a couple of the guys in the band had never eaten oysters before, so we got oysters, and that was our celebration.
Nice. Now obviously we're kind of like obviously we just celebrated New Year's Eve. We're in 2023. We've been kind of talking about this LP. Like when I know it sounds like you're going to be recording here pretty soon. Like, do you know any ideas as to when we can expect a couple singles, or what the timeline's looking like for you guys?
We are shooting for a summer release. This has been sort of the new fun thing to navigate. Like I said before, I've played in bands for most of my life. I haven't done a lot of the things that I'm doing now for this band. So it's all been a learning process. But you know, a lot of this seems really contingent, and sort of the like hinge for all this is like, okay, well, the recordings have to get done first. And then we'll sort of start to, I think, plan that rollout and release and all that for it. So yeah, we go to the studio. I guess maybe by the time this comes out, we'll have just finished. We go at the end of January, yeah, we're looking at hopefully a summer release.
Okay. And where are you guys going to record at?
We are recording actually here in Asheville. So we're recording at a studio here called Drop of the Sun, which is I really can't stress how excited I think all of us are about it. It's such a nice studio. They've worked with, I guess most recently and probably notably, they've worked with the band Wednesday. That is also an Asheville local band. And then MJ Lenderman, who again is a part of Wednesday, but that's their solo project. They're also Asheville local. They just did the newest Archers of Loaf record that came out. I think they've done some like Angel Olsen stuff. I'm excited and interested. They have not really done a lot of the music that we play, but they've done like death metal bands that it sounds great. So I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah, it just kind of was, again, it's like sort of a no-brainer for us to like stay home, stay where we're at, work somewhere that we're comfortable and feel good about, what we're doing. And I think it's gonna hopefully show in the record that, that's what it was.
Yeah, dude. Well, like I said, I'm so stoked to see what this LP is gonna be like, because I mean, jamming this EP has been so good, and like Emo Revival, like I can't stress that enough. Like you guys put it on the Bandcamp, like that's literally what this feels like. Especially growing up listening to like Early Free Throw, which I still listen to Early Free Throw because I'm stuck in my ways. But like Dowsing, all that shit, like just it makes me feel like I want to be in a basement in a college town drinking like a case of like PBRs and just vibing out. Like that's my favorite shit. It reminds me so much of it.
That's awesome, dude. That's I think that's yeah, like that's what we want. That is, I grew up playing in more like very straightforward like pop punk bands throughout most of my younger time playing music, and had a just awful touring experience with the band I was doing that with, and ended up back at my parents' house in Central Florida after that tour, and not in the best place. And I think, that was probably during that time period when you're talking about of like that 2009, 2010, when so many of these like emo bands at the time were putting out just like incredible music. And I'm like, holy shit, what is this? Like, I think, it definitely like, that just totally changed the whole trajectory for me. I was like, I want to make this. I started an emo band in my very small hometown in Florida, and did that for a little while, and eventually left it and moved across the country. But that is the type of music that I think we all genuinely just love. And so it's fun to get to kind of do our spin and our take on that.
Well, everyone that's listening, be ready for, that LP coming, summer 2023. So as we kind of transition here, or I guess before we fully transition, is there anything with Kerosene Heights that I might have missed that you want the people to know about?
I don't think so. I mean, that's kind of, we'll have some shorter tours we're announcing for spring. But right now it's just been kind of hiding away, focusing on this record. And yeah, I am like, as you can tell, I'm like, I won't stop talking about it. It's all, I think all of our favorite songs we've ever written by a landslide. And even now sitting down trying to figure out like what are the singles going to be, we're like, just pick any of them, it doesn't matter.
Right.
For us, we're like, they're all singles. That's whoa, cool.
Dude, that's fucking dope. If like,
Yeah.
because whenever you listen to like an album or like something that someone releases, you can kind of, obviously the band has their ideas as to like what the singles they want to be, and then like the listeners will also have like their ideas as to like, oh, these could have been the singles too. But the fact that you guys are already saying for like this 11 song LP that every
Yeah.
song could be the single, like that makes me even more stoked that like that it's that many bangers on
It's
one record.
I love them, but I felt that way with the EP too. Genuinely, like and I'm happy we did what we did. I pushed for a completely different song to be the single on the EP, and I'm glad I lost that fight because I think in a lot of ways had Tired of Me not been the single, the whole year would have looked different for us.
Mhm.
We weirdly got some like news features for that song that we had no expectation of that happening, and I think had a lot of people kind of be like, wait, what is this? This is good. So yeah, and I fought tooth and nail. I'm like, Tired of Me is not a single, y'all. Like, you're wrong. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm wrong again.
Oh, one quick question I had about the EP is at the end of the first song, at the end of people that are looking at track listing, at the end of In Your Blood, there's a little sound clip that says, "What should we do next? Do you want to just do something about you and then just play it back from there?" That like it obviously I hear that, I'm very intrigued. It was the set list, was like the track listing supposed to be completely different?
I don't know that I honestly don't know. Chance did a
Okay.
lot of that stuff. And I think, I've heard some of the episodes I listened to where you're talking about like sound clips and stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, we're an emo band. I like, and we all love hardcore music too. So it's like the two types of music I feel like that use that so much that we're like, yeah, put them in. I don't know if it's still on there, but when we originally recorded Things I Do, that also had like a sound clip of Chance's, I think it's of Chance's partner, and it's like real quick, but they're like, I'll fucking kill you, and it's like right in the beginning. So I would imagine that was just I probably went over to Chance's and just laid out all my guitar tracking. There's a few spots on that record where either L or myself are doing some backup vocals. It's mostly L. So I imagine the mic just picked that up and he's like, I like that. Let's just keep it in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I the band will debate a lot about track listing, and I will never say that it doesn't matter. But I try really, and I'm not good at it, but I try really hard to be like, I don't care about this. And I can't care about this. So y'all, I trust y'all, make it whatever you want. And I'm grateful and happy. I think that that's something you really have to lean into is like recognizing like, oh, cool, this person cares a lot about this thing. Let them do it. Like,
Mhm.
and don't get frustrated or annoyed that like that you don't care about it and they do. Just let them have that thing. And it'll make things better. So
Yeah.
that's sort of how it's been with all of that. Is I try very hard most of the time to be like, I don't care. Y'all do what you want. I
Okay.
don't do a good job, but I try.
All right. Yeah, I just kept hearing that this morning, and I was like, I wonder if that has like a deeper meaning, or if it's just like a bullshit thing that they like left in, kind of like at the, I can't think of the song off the top of my head, but there's that A Day to Remember song where like they end off with like, bitch, and then at the end it's like, so do you want to leave the bitch in, or should we like take it out? And then like kind of just leave that sound clip in there, and it like it's funny, it just adds something more, and like it's just
Definitely.
something that was just for some reason recorded in the studio still.
Yeah. No, and that's, I mean, yeah, I would guess it's probably the latter, and that there's not a ton of meaning to that, but again, you never, I mean, that the recording aspect of things is definitely Chance's specialty and expertise, and so, I kind of just try to let people do what they're going to do.
Okay.
And let them do what they're good at.
All right. Well, now as we start to transition to the later half of this episode, I obviously, this is Beers with Bands. We're having a few midday drinks on this fine January 2nd.
Yes.
But Justin, what are you having for your drink of choice today?
So I had to go to the store right before we recorded this because I was like, I don't have any beers. And again, my wife's like, you have to go get beer at 11 in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, it's a podcast called Beers with Bands. I got to do it. But this is Edmund's Oast Brewing. They're out of Charleston, South Carolina, and it's their country lager.
Okay.
So it's just a nice kind of easy going. I got voted to do this because half of the band doesn't drink, and I've worked in the craft beer industry for like the better part of 10 years. So they were like, "You have fun, dude. You're the beer guy."
Well, I'm honored that you were willfully selected to do this.
Yeah.
But also for when you guys come back on in the future and talk about like LP 3 or 4, no one's required to drink on these episodes.
Yeah,
so they're more than welcome to always come
after listening. I was like, oh shit, they could have done this. It would have been fine.
I've been trying to like put that in the emails too, like that way like I don't throw anyone off guard if I email someone and it's like a like an all sober band. I don't want them to be like, who the fuck is this guy trying to get us to break.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, thanks, asshole. Yeah. No, it's I think maybe two of the episodes I listened to is when I was like, oh, these guys aren't like they're drinking NA beers, or they're not, which is cool, it's been kind of cool to see. Again, I work in alcohol, like it's fun to see NA and like that type of thing really grow to what it is now. So it is cool.
Yeah, I think the episode you might be talking about was the New Junk City episode.
Yep.
And they were drinking NAs. Like they were telling me all this stuff about different NA beers, and I'm like, I didn't even know half of that shit existed anymore. Like because like for me, when anyone mentions like NA beers, I just immediately think like O'Doul's.
Yeah.
And that's fucking it.
No, there are like fully NA only breweries now, and pretty much any macro beer, like Bud, any big beer company has their own NA beer options now, which for us, even touring, like when you get drink tickets and then half the band is like, fuck dude, what am I gonna do with this? And then it's like, okay, well there's two options. You give it to the other half of the band and then we're wasted, which nobody wants. Or you get like, a Red Bull, I guess. But no, it's been cool for me even to be like, no, you guys, they have NA beers. If you want that, like, go get one. And they're like, oh, sick. Yeah. And it's nice to feel included and not feel like outcasted or, whatever because of your choices. And B, I think it's just nice to have the option, and not feel like you have to do something or feel weird or bad being somewhere because you don't. So it's crazy, and I almost did that today, but I was like, I'm on vacation.
Right. Yeah, you're on vacation. Fuck it.
Yeah. So and I'm like, I can have one day beer and be okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. So I mean, obviously there's a little beer segment for this episode. But now we're going to transition to the later half of these episodes, which are the reason that these episodes even exist. Because, me and my friends would tell truer stories, but kind of gets old when you were there in the moment when those stories actually happened. So I'm, you're just getting them told back to you. It's like, dude, I was there. It's cool. So this is just where, you just kind of tell fun stories from your time in music. Obviously, it sounds like you've been doing a lot of bands throughout your time. They can be from tours, time recording Kerosene Heights, anything before. As I usually say, anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between.
Yes.
Yeah.
I so I mean, I will try to mostly focus on Kerosene Heights, but the I think the really beautiful thing so far about this band is there hasn't really been any horrendous. Touring, we've been so fortunate and lucky that every tour that we have done has pretty much gone off without a hitch. Like there's not been, you know, some tire stuff that we had to deal with, but that's it. And
Right.
going, I think the best example would be like the last tour that we did. Um, the first date that we played was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and none of us know anybody in Cincinnati, Ohio. And so we're starting to do getting close to town. And of course, it's like the last minute, like, oh shit, where are we going to stay? Um, and I've chance, if we're really, really not sure, like, Chance sometimes will on stage just sort of be like, or wherever we're playing, like, hey, if anybody has a place to stay, we will give you merch. We like whatever you want. Like we are very nice people, and we would greatly appreciate that. And sure enough, that night, nobody. I think there was a bigger show going on somewhere right outside of Cincinnati, and there was also a big music festival in downtown Cincinnati. So not a lot of people came, and we're like, cool. There's nobody to give us a place to stay anyway. And I'm outside loading gear back into the van, and a dude outside smoking. And it turns out he worked in the kitchen at the place we played in Cincinnati. His name's Daryl, super nice dude, and he's like, if you don't need a place to stay, I got you guys. He plays in a band in Cincinnati called Slut Bomb. That's like a hardcore kind of power violence, whatever. I'm probably if he ever listened to this, he probably that's not right. But they're really good. And yeah, so he ended up just like, yeah, you guys come back, stay at my place. Offered to buy us beers, but again, it's like, yeah, most of us are sober, we're chilling, dude. He lived in like the top story of this like castle-y looking house, and we all got to like chill with him on the roof for a little bit, and it ended up being like the best way to kick off a tour with like a just genuinely good person that just didn't have to do that at all, but
Right.
was like, if you guys can give me a ride back to my place, you can stay there. And I was like, pile in the van, dude. So, we've had nothing but really good, like, yeah, I think the closest thing to horrendous, and it really wasn't even horrendous, is in South Carolina on the first tour we did, this like really cool kind of like metalcore band played with us. And mid song, it ended up being, I guess, like a planned thing, but none of us knew that it was. Mid song, the bass player of this band takes his bass off of his body and runs over to the vocalist and like puts his hands around his throat and is like choking him out. And all of us are like, what in the fuck is going on? But it was just like, yeah, it was, I'm like waiting for this like whole band to erupt in like a fist fight while they're in the middle of a song. But it was part of the thing, and they were all super nice, sweet dudes. So, yeah, it was, but I mean, we've had some moments like that, but mostly touring with Kerosene Heights has been great. It's I think one of the main things I've come to really love about playing music and getting to do this has just sort of been the people that you meet, and the like connections that way that you make while you're doing something that is kind of self-serving and stupid, and like it's cool to be like, wow, people, like, even if they don't care about your band at all, like they can still be really nice and genuine and kind. And I think you meet a lot of people that are kind of from that similar background, or doing things like this where it's like you meet people that have been around this their whole lives, and it's cool that things exist like this and that you get to do stuff like this, and get to tour. I mean, I've inversely, like my touring experiences from younger were all bad, and so even going with Kerosene Heights, it was like, this isn't gonna be good. And I hope y'all don't hate this, because I don't think a lot of the band had done much touring, or if any, prior to Kerosene Heights. And I was 21 a long time ago and broke down in Flint, Michigan with the band I was playing in. And at that time, I didn't even have a cell phone. And you're like, wow, I genuinely, when that happened, was like, I might live in Flint, Michigan now, because I have no money and now no mode of transportation. But even in those moments, the people that band ended up finding, who we were dumb and thought it was a good idea to buy a full like 40-foot school bus to tour in, not thinking about any of the other aspects to that, other than that would be cool. uh, and then you're like, oh my god, it costs $300 to fill this thing up. We're not going to make that much money ever. And somehow miraculously we made it to Flint, Michigan from Florida. And then the bus broke down, and we had the mechanic. Those people ended up being so nice and bought a ton of our merch, gave us way too much money for all of that, fed us every night, let us sleep they let us sleep in the bus, on their lot while they were working on it overnight, and like hooked us up with power so we could run. It was January in Michigan, so they hooked us up with like space heaters so that we didn't freeze to death on this bus, and brought us like pizza every night. They ended up being way too kind. And the guy that ran the place, he literally was just like, I have a daughter that's your age, and if this happened to her, and I'm like, why? Why would this happen to her? We are very dumb, and why would she be on a school bus with a band? Does she play in a band? But no, he just ended up being like, if something happened to her, I'd hope somebody would do the same, and that was the motivation. Just that, which is so cool. And then another mechanic there sold us a very bad but running van, and we hightailed it back to Florida, with nothing. So I've had a lot of bad times doing this, and still it's nice to see the other side of it and be like, wow, you can just go out and have fun, and like it doesn't suck.
Right. Oh my god. You've gone through all that bad stuff to now. Everything going forward should hopefully just be smooth sailing with Kerosene Heights. Like,
let's hope. Yeah, I mean, like, even if it's not, that's okay.
Right.
It's part of it. I'm gonna be that. It'll build character. But no, it's and that's it. I think you learn that it's going to happen at some point. It's sort of inevitable that something is going to go wrong. And I think I especially have had to learn to just like swallow that and not let that be the only thing that sits at the front of your head the whole time. Is like, when is this going to happen? And just accept that it can or it can't, and you can't do anything about that.
Yep.
And just to kind of be in the moment a little bit more and enjoy it. Which is, again, it's great. You have bad shows here and there. Same thing. It's going to happen. You just got to like sort of laugh it off, shrug it off, and be like, that sucked, I mean, we played in New York, and I think all of us broke strings at this show. All of us had some sort of mechanical issue happen. And finally, like 3 songs into this like cool fest that we were playing in New York, we're like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we're, kind of like, take them off. Like, we had 15 minutes, and we won't have time to restring our guitars and play more songs. So y'all just got the worst version of all of our songs. We're sorry. We're going to come back,
Man. Yeah.
And that, I think, is probably the worst thing that's happened to Kerosene Heights.
Yeah, that's always rough. I've like, thankfully, when I toured, I just did like TMing. I think we only had like one guy maybe break the string every few shows, and we always had like a backup guitar that I had to like run out there. But
you learn to have
like,
those things on you.
Yeah. I can't imagine, like, if they would have all broke strings at the same, like in the same set, I would have been like, I'm going back to the bar. I don't know what you want me to do. I can't do anything right now. Like, fucking
No, and
Have fun.
like I am, I don't. There are probably musicians out there that are like, cool, I broke my A string. I can, make my way around the
Yeah,
guitar.
I'll octave it up and like do all this.
That ain't me, and that's not the rest of this band. We were like, oh no. I mean, I tried, and I'm like, this is horrible and out of tune, and I am done. Yeah. So that's and Chance is a lefty on top of all of that. So the like borrowing someone else's guitar, great. I usually can. Chance, it's like there's not going to be another left-handed guitar player here that's going to let me borrow their guitar, dude.
Right.
So he brings a backup most of the time. I don't. I live life on the edge. And yeah, I mean, it's no, it's we've been so fortunate to have like our first tour was with Farseek, who if you haven't listened to them, they are so good, and them taking us out was like, again in my head, I'm like, why? Like, oh, but hell yeah. And that tour was incredible. They are some of the nicest people and just a seriously incredible band. And then, we did this last one with California Cousins out of Rochester. Same deal. It was like when we asked them, hey, do you guys want to do this tour with us? And then they're like, yeah. I was like, what is going on? And I think it's cool to be like, it doesn't hurt to ask, and you will surprise yourself with the answers that you'll get sometimes. But same deal. I mean, those guys are seriously some of the nicest people, and touring with them was so much fun too. Like, it was, yeah, it was awesome. I'm like, all of us are like, this is great. We're gonna keep doing this.
Right. Yeah, bouncing off of your it doesn't hurt to ask. Like I'm like starting. I'm like 3.5 years into doing this podcast, and I still feel like I'm not big enough to like ask people to do anything. So like,
Yeah.
anytime that I end up sending out like I think when I sent you guys that email, one also I want to point out, you guys responded back so fast, faster than like anyone. Like it was literally 2 minutes, and I was like, what the fuck? But normally when I send out those emails, I'm like, well, let's see how this fucking goes. Let's see how many of these I get back. But I don't know. I'm getting a little bit more bold. So
right. I am more in your camp, and it's been really cool to play in a band with the people that I play with, because they are in that other. They're like, what are they gonna do? Say no? And I'm like, yeah, and then I'll be crushed forever. Right. And yeah, I have learned that it's okay. Doing this, a lot of people are gonna tell you no. A lot of people aren't gonna like your shit, like, and that's cool. Like, but it's fun to be like, but there are, I think focusing on the people that do is 100 times better than focusing on the people that don't.
yeah.
And again, it's like what I was talking about before with like the comparison thing. Like, don't worry about that no. That no could be a yes in a year. And yeah, so I mean that, yeah, it's like, and in the same way, I think that was you're like, oh, I just found you guys, and that was cool. We just found you. Like and now I've listened to I think 4 episodes. I'm like, this is a good podcast. I'll keep listening to it, which is cool. Like, yeah, dude. I think it's a fun concept, and it's, yeah, you get good bands on here, which is always cool too. So, and yeah, Chance and I are both on our phones way too much, and do it's yeah, it's in a great way, but it's such a fun thing for us, and he and I are kind of, especially right now because things have been a little slower for us, and I've done a lot of our booking. Chance has a lot of other like behind the scenes stuff, so yeah, we're on our phones too much, and with things like that, it's like, oh my gosh, someone emailed us. Like, yeah, we don't get a ton of emails. So it was cool to like, to have that. Yeah, it's, yeah, we don't get a lot of emails. So if anyone's listening, drop us a line. Just say what's up.
Right.
We'll get back quick. Yeah, it's cool. And we all, I think the whole band is big podcast people. The last tour we did, we probably half the time listened to podcasts, and the other half listen to music. But podcasts are a good break. It makes long drives for me go by so fast.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then uh, Chance Chance is like, that dude will like push his vocals, and so he's got to rest vocals a lot when we're out on the road. And listening to a podcast is so much easier because everyone's so focused in on listening to this thing that no one's trying to like talk over the music.
Mm,
And I think for him especially, it's been like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to just sit quietly while all of you guys are talking about things that I want to,
yeah.
talk with you about. So yeah, podcasts I think were like a really cool thing for us as a band to discover on the road. Like, oh, this is a good way for all of us to kind of be quiet and just like focus on something. And yeah.
When you guys are on the road and you guys are listening to these podcasts, like what are your go-to ones that like everyone agrees on to listen to?
It's kind of all over the place, to be honest. This last tour, Chance and I both really like the First Ever podcast with
Mm,
Jeremy Baum. And that kind of same, it's like just people from bands being interviewed, like longer format that you're like, yeah, I like listening and nerding out about hearing about other people that you're like, oh, I love this band.
right.
And last time, I think the other one that we spent some time listening to, it was called, I'm gonna totally forget. I'm the worst person to do these kinds of things because I'm like, I don't know anything. uh, it was called Heavyweight. It's kind of cool. It's like, I don't even really know how to explain it, but it's almost like weird, like mystery type things, but they're not like, it's nothing heavy. Like it's like stupid. Like one of my favorite episodes on that is he's a big comedian actor, but he's on it and he's like, no one in my family believes me that I broke my arm when I was a kid. And this guy's like, cool, let's figure this out. And so they like go back and try to find photos and like all these things to like be like, did he like, and the whole family's like, no, he's a liar. Like he didn't break his arm. And he's like, I definitely did. And
Okay.
yeah, so it's like weird mysteries that they kind of solve. Yeah, it's just kind of comical, and we're a bunch of silly dudes. Yeah, that's something that we try really hard to not put out there on the internet. Yeah, I think we like try to be like, no, we're serious, but then
Yeah.
it's like, nah, we're a bunch of silly geese.
You just gotta
Uh,
take all your promo photos as like a hardcore band and then just like have that other persona where you're like, we're not like that at all.
it it's funny because that is essentially like up until maybe now has been like the overall like, again, we're all big hardcore fans, and so that's sort of been the like way that we have wanted to present, is a little more like in that again, serious and like that kind of lane. uh I always like to joke around and be like, we're probably like, we're your like favorite hardcore band's favorite emo band. um but yeah, that's, I mean, we're all really, that's like, I listen to probably more heavy music at this point in my life than I do emo music, which is cool.
Yeah.
And we're trying, I'm like, I think we can make this bleed in a little bit, which would be cool.
Hey, mixed band bills are a thing, and you guys would work. I mean, everyone should work on a mixed band bill, but like, I feel like if you
Yeah,
guys were like, hey, can we hop on this show while we're in town and it's a hardcore bill, like I feel like you guys would do just fine.
I have tried a lot, and it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, I won't stop. Again, like you said, you
Yeah.
never know when they're going to say yes. So,
Right.
but yeah, that, and like you said, I would rather do that than play with 4 other emo bands any day of the week. Nothing against, like, there are some amazing bands that put out some great music this year. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, no, this is more fun, and there's, definitely more energy in that. So yeah, we won't stop trying. It'll happen. You'll see it one day. We'll be like, wow, they did it. They played with a bunch of hardcore bands.
I'd be like,
Fest,
they
I
did it.
guess maybe was a little bit like that. I don't
Yeah.
know. Nah.
I feel like that's just more punk bands than anything.
Yeah, there were hardcore bands there, but yeah,
Yeah.
we did not play with any of them. But yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, when you guys finally achieve the playing on a hardcore band bill, definitely let me know. I know the old band I used to run with, like we had just kicked off a tour and we played, they were like a pop punk band, but like a kind of like a faster pop punk band, and we opened for like this hardcore like show, and like no one was there to watch or gave a shit. Like there's a photo out there somewhere where I took it from the merch stand, and it's just our two friends that came to watch the show, and like no one else. And I was like, why did I take this picture and to post it? But you know, those could be kind of brutal sometimes.
Hey, that is, at least if nothing else, that is real, and that has happened to every fucking band. I don't care if the only pictures they post are of everybody going crazy in the pit or in the crowd. They've played to two people or none before too, and so you just keeping it real.
Yeah, that's true.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, I could probably do a whole like podcast just on like, hey, let's just talk about the worst shows we've ever been a
Yeah.
part of.
I mean, that's touring. People are like, it must be so fun. And I'm like, it has a lot of fun moments, but it's also like, yeah, you play to a lot of like, yeah, cool. 5 people showed up and you're like, yes, that's great.
Yeah,
We're hyped.
and we drove 8 hours to get there for that one 5-person show.
Yeah. But, you know, I think that that's a cool thing about our band is we are genuinely a bunch of like just grateful idiots that we're able to do this. Like, and so if there's 2 people there that are paying attention and listening to us, like we will play like we're playing to 2,000. Like we get to do it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, obviously, you know, like we mentioned, this is the first episode that I'm recording in 2023. It's early 2023. We know that you guys have an LP coming summer of this year, but like what other things can we expect from Kerosene Heights in 2023?
I think a lot more touring. That is genuinely, I think, the other big thing that we are trying to push. I think a lot of it will come post LP release to kind of help promote that. But, you know, I don't know how many dates we did this past year, but it was probably around like 35, 40. I want to say our like ambitious goal is 90 days on the road this year, which again is we're doing this all ourselves and definitely all have full-time normal jobs. So that's we're gonna try to push it as hard as we can for as long as we can. And yeah, so I think we're gonna try to really go out and hit some places that we've never hit before. We're gonna try to do the Midwest and go a little further west in that. I'm hopefully going to try to play Fest again. That was such a good and fun experience for all of us. And me being a Florida person, that's something I've had dreamed about doing since I was, 20 and going to Fest and like, I want to get on this. So getting to do that when I was, 34 was like, wow, this took almost 15 years, but fuck yeah. And it was so great. And that's just such a cool, that whole thing is, everyone should go to that at least once. There is nothing else like it. But yeah, so I think that's it. We're gonna try to maybe put out a music video with this LP, which would be fun. And yeah, we're like, we'll try it. And yeah, just try to keep touring, like just play more shows generally.
Dude,
that's why we do it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see Kerosene Heights in my backyard. Well, not my backyard, but like I got a small backyard. Don't play there. But I like in the Twin Cities. Okay, we'll make it happen. But I want to see you guys come through the cities hopefully soon with this LP and like just have a good fucking time.
Yeah, dude. Hopefully summer. Yeah, we were trying to come through in April and that ended up falling through. But we will hopefully be coming through this summer. So
fuck yeah. Well, keep me posted on that. If anyone's looking for Kerosene Heights merch, music, or just Kerosene Heights in general, where can they find it?
Bandcamp is where most of our merch lives right now. I believe there will be some physical stuff from that split that we did on No Sleep's website eventually. But if you search Kerosene Heights in Google, we're going to come up first over anything else. There's nobody else has anything called Kerosene Heights. So yeah, we'll come up. And then a bunch of old timey lamps will come up after that.
I did notice, for anyone that's into collecting tapes, which I don't know if I've ventured into doing that yet. I didn't spend too much money on vinyl. You guys still have tapes out there for the original release of the EP. So
We do,
they're
and
nice,
those are
translucent red, which definitely pick it up if you get a chance.
yeah. We've got maybe like 20-ish left. And I will not repress those. So you'll also be getting a very limited cassette because I'm not doing it again.
Well, I mean, make sure you go follow Kerosene Heights on all the socials, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's the Facebooks, the Twitters, or the Instagram. Check the description, follow those hyperlinks, and stay up to date with everything Kerosene Heights has coming out. You know, they'll probably post like some behind the scenes stuff from recording. Be ready for the
Definitely.
LP, and just be ready for everything else that they have going on.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Thank you.
You said all of it. Yeah, that's it. You kind of, I don't think we have Facebook, but Chance runs our Twitter, and I pretty much run our Instagram, but Chance is also on our Instagram a bunch. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, I mean, like, thank you for taking the time out of your. It's Monday. It feels weird having days off. Thank you for taking the time out of your Monday to sit down with me, for some kind of like nooner beers and just having a good time.
Yeah, I would rather do this than most other things. So I'm glad I had a good reason to do it.
Hell yeah. Well, like I normally say, if you or anyone you know should be on an episode of Beers with Bands, feel free to hit me up. I got the email on all the socials, or maybe you'll get lucky and I'll find one of your songs on my curated playlist, and then I'll be like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And then you could be like Justin, be like, yeah, let's fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah, say yes to cool, fun things with cool people.
Appreciate that. I mean, other than that, here's to a solid 2023, and I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya. Something about you.